Today we have several cool things to talk about, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Today we've got a really fascinating multi-tool to talk about. This is known as the Wingspan. This is from the company EDC Titan. This is their all-in-one titanium butterfly multifunctional tool. And you'll soon know why it's called the Wingspan or the butterfly tool, because you can do this all day long with it. Yeah, it's a really fascinating fidget toy, but it's a little bit more than that. It has more tools than a lot of these toy tool things that I see come on the market, and it's pretty fascinating. One of the things I like, first of all, is that it has this pretty nice pocket clip, and then on the end is this glass breaker. Now, they also talk about this being, I think, or actually maybe this right here being a fire striker. I don't know about all that, but that is what they talk about. Now, it looks pretty nice. I like how it has these carbon fiber like inserts. Then you do get some of these wrenches on the outside. Not a huge fan of those, as I don't think they're extremely useful. But on the inside is this multi-tool, which is a wrench, adjustable wrench, and it is very smooth. I do like the extreme smoothness of this wrench. You can fidget with that a fair amount. There are ruler markings on both sides, inches and metric. A sort of like a scraper pry bar, maybe more like a pry bar right there. Although that's not the only pry bar. On the inside, there are some other tools, or actually the outside. This is a fairly handy tool right here if you can get it. It is a little bit small, but you've got a tiny scalpel blade right there. It doesn't really lock into place, but it does have, almost feels like it slips into place a little bit more, but it's definitely not locking. And with my particular batch, I got this off of eBay, so it was a lot cheaper for me. I got a ton of replaceable blades. I mean, I will never go through all these scalpel blades, but yeah, just a huge amount of scalpel blades came with mine. Pretty nice right here. Again, this is very lightweight because it's all titanium. And I want to talk about a little later why this is significant, this tool. Now, one of the things that's sort of fascinating is you have this little set of tweezers. These right here, yeah, they have a little magnet in them. You can see right there. So you can actually set them on like your Leatherman arc. Yeah, that's pretty neat. You could potentially use these in other tools, and then they just fit right in there. Now, I have been carrying this in my pocket for the last couple days, off and on, and actually I was afraid those tweezers would fall out. They have not. On the other side, we have a bottle opener, and then this pry tool, and also a nail puller. Now, it is a fairly small tool, so I don't think you're going to be doing any huge amounts of work with it, but it is nice to have some tools in a pinch to use. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty fascinating little tool set. Also, you can put these little tritium tubes that are so popular with a lot of these. They can get pretty pricey, so I usually don't add them, but you can get the cheaper versions that don't glow near as long. And I think there's a slot here and 2 slots here with a total of 3. Now, it has this little notch where you can close it, and then when you open it up, I find it's actually a lot easier to use it on this side. I don't know, for some reason on the other side it gets a little bit more caught up, but on this one, yeah, it works really, really nice. Pretty fantastic little tool. Now, let's talk about some of the negatives. This comes in at their price of $200. Whoa, that is crazy. $200? Now, on their website, I guess that's what they ask for it, but it's sort of like some of these watches like Invicta. You actually can buy it for $179, but that is still a lot of money. $179? That is crazy. Now, I got this for under $100 on eBay. I looked it up and I saw how expensive it was. I think I got this for $60 some, which is still probably a little too much, but definitely a lot cheaper than $200. Now, I think this is almost a perfect pocketable size right here, just a little bit smaller than the Leatherman Arc. It is very, very light. Let's go ahead and measure this. This comes in at about 9.5 centimeters. Then when we get the ruler out here, comes in just under 4 inches, about 3.5 inches. This is about, I think for me, this is about the perfect pocketable EDC size, that 3.5-inch size. Really, really nice. Let's turn this on. Let's check it out in grams. It comes in at 70 or 80 grams. Change it to ounces, 2.8 ounces. This is extremely lightweight. That means it's even lighter than the Saga Power Pint, which is very, very lightweight. Yeah, so this is a pretty fantastic little tool right here, albeit very expensive. If you can get this on sale, it might be worth picking up. At $170, definitely not. I think for me, this is something that I would recommend all day long at around the $40 to $50 to $60 price point, but definitely not probably any more than that. Unfortunately, it is priced really, really high. I hope there is a version eventually that comes out perhaps like in aluminum, something that's a little cheaper to make, or lightweight steel. Maybe aluminum handles with lightweight steel, something like that. That could be very nice. Now, one of the things I was thinking about was, isn't that crazy that now there's these other more premium EDC brands, which I have seen Leatherman for a long time as the premium EDC brand. I mean, in the past, they came out with these very expensive Leatherman Charge special edition. Some of them go for over $1,000. Now, this is aftermarket wood scales, but they had some with wood scales that they, at least now, if you try to buy them, they're over $1,000 to buy. And then, of course, a Leatherman Arc is a very expensive tool at around $200 and some. But this tool right here is pretty much the same price if they were not discounted, if you call it that, on their website. So very close to the same price as a Leatherman Arc. Definitely the EDC world is changing. It's a little crazy how things are right now, and I'm not sure quite how to think about things. Now, when we talk about the EDC world, there are some other things that I have been a little fascinated with. Bit drivers. What about some of these EDC bit drivers? Now, when we're talking about EDC gadgets, other things sort of pop into mind. Now, this is a cheaper alternative with the Leatherman bit by our friend at the Multi Parts store. You can either check out his channel or go to his store, and then he has these 3D printed parts to store your Leatherman bit. Pretty clever. But what about some of these other more premium bits? I think a lot of these come in around $20, $25. These are those EDC beads, and then they have sort of gnarled edges where you can use this as a bit driver. It doubles as a bit driver. Now this one right here, obviously, it's not the most complex. You just put the bit in there, and then you got to figure out a way to keep it in there and then use it. Perhaps not the best system ever. This is one of those systems where you actually, put the bit in sideways into this, and then you can use this as a driver like so. Again, not the most perhaps best system out there, but in a pinch, perhaps better than nothing, and it is a cool little item, I guess, to add to your EDC. Now, I know a lot of you guys are not interested in any of that, but apparently some people are, because there is definitely a market, and some of these get extremely pricey. These are actually, believe it or not, the budget versions of what I've seen out there. So let me know, what are some of the most expensive EDC items that people would think are crazy that you have bought, that you have paid for? Let me know below, and we'll have fun talking about it.